I have not been going live in a while, so let me first check that everything is working. Plus, I still didn't see Alex joining. There you go. Alex is joining. Awesome. Perfect. Alex, let me know when you can hear me.
Good. I need to just figure out how to get the camera working.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time.
We're in the waiting room
Learning,
now.
we're learning as we go. I have not gone live in a while, so I'm also like checking that this stream. Okay, the stream is actually starting already on LinkedIn. So, and let me also double check YouTube and take your time with figuring out the camera part. There you go. Now I see you. Good to meet you.
Got it. Hey there. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, how's it going? Where are you based?
I'm based in San Francisco.
Okay, nice. But you're British, I guess.
Yeah, British.
Okay, nice, awesome. I'm actually going to London next week, and
Oh, I'm jealous.
I was based in San Francisco myself for about 3 years. Overall, I was in California for 8 years. So, uh, I
Beautiful.
know
Where are
what.
you now?
I'm back in Italy, southern Italy, in Puglia, where I'm originally
Puglia.
from.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I love southern Italy, especially Puglia. Puglia is like a much undiscovered region of.
that's right.
They talk about it a lot, but not many people actually go there. I think
Yeah,
it's.
yeah. I was just seeing some data actually. I've been back now in my region for about 7 years, so I joined
Mhm.
a lot of these conferences about how Puglia is doing. We're actually doing like really well, also from a tourism point of view. Like it's growing really well, and actually one of the reasons why I'm back is that there is even some funding available for startups. They give out like 350K seed, like let's say seed funding without taking any equity. It's like some of those EU grants.
Mhm.
And so I also found like a good spot in terms of work wise. But we can switch anytime to AI SDR. So maybe you can give a little intro about yourself. That would be nice, because this would be basically my thinking about this is that I was gonna have a call with you 101, and I said, why don't we just have a call
Yeah.
about have in front of other people, so people can also um, you know ask questions or whatever. So yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah, maybe just kind of like kick off about so kick off introduction, like ask me a question maybe
Please.
on who I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah. Basically, yeah. Who you are and what you do. If you just give a little intro about yourself, that would be great.
perfect.
Oh, actually, yeah. My mic was muted, so go ahead and get started. Like, let's go. We're rolling. We're live already.
Cool.
So yeah, Alex, tell us more about yourself, please. Like what you do and where you come from, where
Hi
you're
there.
based. But yeah.
Yeah, hi there, Vincenzo. Like great to meet you and connect. Yeah, so just a quick bit of background on me. So I'm based in San Francisco. I've worked in either kind of consulting or technology for all my career. I've kind of followed the digital transformation path in my career. So I started off being basically an IT consultant, implementing CRM systems, then moved into consulting, focusing on go-to-market strategy for B2B companies. In about 2017, I joined a startup, employee number 3, basically heading revenue growth. It was a startup focused on building out B2B data, specifically company data, and it fueled the growth of all of the ABM and predictive analytics vendors. We then got acquired. I joined the acquiring company, and then
Was
like
that
since
Dun
leaving,
and Bradstreet?
yes, yeah. So the startup was called Orb Intelligence, and it was bought by Dun and Bradstreet in January 2020. I worked there heading up really the digital marketing division of Dun& Bradstreet. And then I left about a year ago and dived deep into AI. And
Nice.
I really have done a kind of combination of things. The first thing I've done is I've just got my hands dirty with AI. So actually started using it, everything from going back to my coding days and learning how to use the APIs and building functions and building things kind of like fairly, from scratch. but at the same time also understanding the market and understanding market dynamics, not just the tools that are available for AI, but also what are the implications of AI on the market, and how is the market reacting? So, for example, AI is a huge catalyst for changing business models for companies. Understanding that and that dynamic as well is something. Anyway, one of the clients that I worked for was interested in AI SDRs. So I did a bit of research for them, obviously just using public information. And I published that on LinkedIn, and that's how we got connected.
Yeah.
And so, that's the background.
No, and I was gonna say, like, I'm on LinkedIn feed a lot, like I'm just like a LinkedIn addict, but I do think it's one of the healthiest social networks out there because at least I'm always learning something. And I could immediately tell from your analysis, which I might just go out and share right now, so at least people know what we're talking about. So this was just like a little intro, but this was the slide that made me think and made me like want to connect with you. I was at Nokia for 7 years, and this reminds me of some of those Nokia slides. I think your time at DNB gave you this really good setup, I would say, in just digesting the information. I was like, I just want to talk to this guy because I've been looking at this different type of AI SDR companies. We're building ourselves different solutions that I can also show you, like in the AI space right now, we're building AI live agents, which is starting like as a live chat, a competitor to like Zendesk, Intercom, those kind of solutions. But even just because of the amazing domain and brand that we got, we could definitely go in this direction as well. But I, as a product manager, because that's what I am at the core, I felt that like it is still pretty early, and one of the ways that you can tell it's pretty early even is by the G2 score. But even like I one of the things we could do is that I'll let you talk about your analysis, and then I can also share my analysis, which is basically it's part of this deck that I just continue, so that we can compare notes on this analysis of the space, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to kick off with kind of like how I thought about my analysis and how I kind of went about it?
Yeah. That exactly. That sounds good.
Yeah. So
also, just one thing I want to tell to all of my friends watching, if you are here and you join and you add a comment, there is space for 6 more people. So at some point I can send you the invite link to Restream. You can join and ask questions live. So all you need to do is just add a comment either on the YouTube that you're watching or LinkedIn. Let me know. And then, of course, if I know you well enough, then I'll let you join. Because at some point, once I did an open Zoom and some random people like were like destroying the Zoom. So I'm only going to let people that I know inside of here. But yes, Alex, go ahead with your analysis. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, sure. So the way I approached it, I think, was maybe a bit different, but it's the way I kind of approach most problems, which is just break down what I think the functionality is. And I kind of like did some research, but I basically like just broke down what I thought the core functionality was that people were talking about, and didn't try and kind of like think about it in kind of like this utopic state that I think a lot of people think about AI agents. And the second thing that I thought about is I kind of think of the AI agent world, specifically AI SDRs, as being a continuation on what's come before them. And sometimes I refer to where we are at the moment with AI in sales and marketing as kind of sales tech or rev tech 2.5. Okay, we're not quite at 3, but we're somewhere between 2 and 3. And the way I define them is basically age 1 is completely unautomated. So people got contact data, they had an email server, they literally kind of like wrote emails, and they kind of like just did it all completely manually. Age 2 was more with the marketing automation. You had, increasingly you had just a lot more automation, but it was all logic-based automation. So even things like scoring accounts, that was logic-based. If you're talking about emailing and emailing out, yes, they started building out sequences, but again, it was logic-based. So you could literally build out everything based on logic, based on binary, like if this, then that. And that's what really drove kind of like age 2.0. But at specific moments in those processes, you needed to have a human going in there and kind of like thinking about it. So the way I think about it is that when the human kind of like goes in there, that's where the opportunity is for AI to come in and replace some of the functionality. So it was really just like looking at where that, and I don't think we're kind of like fully autonomous yet, but we're kind of at about, like I said, age 2.5 there or thereabouts. Okay. So I used basically the framework that I used to evaluate primarily age 2.0 kind of like processes. So marketing automation platforms, CRM, I don't know, those sort of things, and thinking about the process holistically, and then added in some of the features that I believed most people were talking about that were the benefits of agents. So if you look down the criteria, you've got, do they have data? Yeah. Then I've got some of the agentic properties that I thought people would be looking for, specifically, do they do online research to append and basically enrich the contact data that they'd have? Then do they do personalization? So when they're writing the engagement per channel, do they then personalize it? And I went back to kind of like some of the standard ones. Which channels do they operate on? After that, you've got, do they then automate the process of putting it into a CRM system? And do they integrate into your business? Basically, a very kind of like simple metric. And then after that, I did more kind of like qualitative reviews. First section was more on their business model. I wanted to get a sense of what the rough price point was and how they were pricing the models. And then finally, I wanted to just get some real customer feedback. And I went to G2 to understand not just what their score was, but also how many reviews they had. And some of the features that were basically popping up as pros and cons. And you can see kind of like in the con section here, there's a lot of hallucination, which you'd expect, and kind of like poor kind of like inaccuracy and things like that. But what was interesting was that in the process of doing the feed for LinkedIn, I got a lot of additional observations in terms of where the challenges were and also where the opportunity was in terms of growing it. So that was kind of like the methodology. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And basically what I did is that, I just, like I said, I saw your slide. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, this is really good analysis.
Thanks.
And then what I did is that I actually didn't really look at it really carefully. I just skimmed through, let's say. Because what I wanted to do, if you allow me, is that I'm going to do like my analysis and then we can like compare notes on what we think, like, So basically this was you. And then I was just trying to take a deeper dive, right? So my deeper dives, they usually include like screenshots. And then I try to figure out like, where are they based? Are they YC, and this book a demo. Like for me, I don't have any tattoos, but one of the things I could tattoo myself, and I'm going to make this larger just so for the people, they can read more easily. But so for me, the whole PLG stuff, it like I said, no tattoos. I could get a tattoo about PLG and SaaS. Those two keywords are something I really believe on, right? So this is another one, right? Still YC. Again, still the book a demo kind of like turns me off because I'm not gonna book a demo. Interesting how this login was not taking me anywhere. And then I was like, show me what AI can do for me, and this thing was not loading. So and then the cost is like it's not that like no-brainer, right? Sounds expensive to start. Again, book a demo, that just makes me want to skim through. Just no PLG for me is disheartening, right? I think my time is extremely valuable. If you don't give me any PLG, I'm good. I'm gonna go for the PLG option. Again, book a demo, and finally I saw some PLG. So it's actually with these guys, if I were them, I would be like, to get started, I would put it right up front. And actually I did take like a deeper dive in kind of what they were doing. But like, long story short, it looked powerful, but not easy to use. So for me, the biggest opportunity always is making software more affordable and easier to use, at least at the entry level. Then you can go as crazy as you want, but it has to be, for me, as easy to use as an iPhone. These other guys, I couldn't access them. I don't know, they got something going wrong with their SSL, I guess. So these guys, of course, just from how fancy their landing page, they're the guys who raise the most money. And I'm sure they got something good going on. But, sometimes I've seen companies raising 70, 100 million. I've been in California long enough to see that they just, they still go bankrupt. So having raised a lot of money, but definitely like cool images, cool branding, cool stuff. But again, my digital worker, and you still ask me to fill out the form. There's a big disconnect there. Just as a potential customer, I'm turned off. Again, here still the book a demo, and actually that was weird, right? So it's free for 3 months, but it's still book a demo. Like it's not really PLG. So again, for me, it's a skip. Salesforce, again, relatively low entry tier, but once again, I just need that. And then basically the analysis I did for me, it's like the first thing is this PLG. If no PLG, I'm not moving forward. And then just try to figure out like, okay, if I check, if I do the PLG, is there an entry tier that I could sign up so that I don't need to immediately pay $200 or $600? Yes, so this is fine. And then, for me, always figure out where the team is from. It's quite important.
Mm-hmm.
And then, also like LinkedIn followers can give me like a decent feeling about where they're at, as well as the funding. But like I said, it can be like a hit or miss, both of those. So for me, like, let's just say my analysis was that the only one I could kind of like move forward with, to at least analyze a little better is this like relevance AI. And I'm sure there's a few others, which is actually what I was going to ask to the audience, guys. Like if you have any other solutions that you're seeing, I'd love to hear about them. Like that was kind of like what your analysis prompted me to analyze. And like I said, I've done a deeper dive on the product side with the only PLG ones. But again, for me, PLG is not just the future; should really be the present. I just don't see how anybody can really be successful in the SaaS or even AI space without PLG. That's just my belief. But I'm happy to hear your thoughts about my analysis.
I think it depends on the go-to-market motion that they're trying to drive, and I think PLG is obviously quite a big one. It's growing fast. It's I think a lot of the behavior of the buyers is leaning towards PLG, which makes it good. But it kind of like reaches a bit of a threshold when solutions become quite complicated. And so to your point, what you were saying that you did, you have to kind of like simplify the solution, and you have to build the solution in conjunction with your kind of like go-to-market model. And I think my hypothesis here is that I think that most AI agent type solutions aren't mature yet, and they're experimenting with their business models at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting because I kind of like saw 3 different business models as I kind of like evaluated this. One, I think they all were leaning towards kind of like trying to do a SaaS type go-to-market model. But in terms of the pricing model, there were basically like 3 different types of models. The first one was, how can I kind of like put it, just like the relative cost of kind of like replacing an employee. So generally it was like, buy an AI SDR for somewhere between, 250 to probably about, I think at the high end, I didn't note down some of the prices that weren't public, but on the grapevine, I heard like on the high end, some of the prices were about 2,000 per month. But I think the idea is that, instead of having an SDR that maybe costs 4,000, 5,000, maybe 6,000 per month, maybe more if you include like bonuses and all the rest of it. It's basically a straight 1-for-1 swap. And in general, they manage about 1,000 active contacts inside that month. So the idea is that they're nurturing and basically like building that. One of the risks, incidentally, is that you start burning out your ICP. So if you've identified an ICP and you just start spamming them, you risk burning them out. And this is actually a very big risk that companies have.
I've seen that. Yeah, described in a different way. I forget how it was described in a very funny way. If I recall, I'll tell you.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that if you can remember it. If you can't remember it during the post, look it up, send it over to me. But anyway, so the first one is kind of like this idea of replace a human, if you want to kind of like call it that way. And I don't think that model it's kind of like the old school SaaS way of thinking about it. The second model is kind of like going down to almost the components, and literally they kind of like say, okay, the more contacts you want to nurture, the higher the price. And it's about kind of like, I think it was, I can't remember which one it was, but it was about 70 cents a contact that you want to nurture. So you basically like upload or select a contact, and then the bot goes kind of like on autopilot essentially. So it's kind of more of a consumption model. So the first one's like a traditional SaaS almost per seat model. The second one's a kind of consumption model based on usage. How much do you want to use it? And then the third model, which I found out a lot more about when I started doing interviews with some of the companies afterwards, was more of an outcome-based model. So they actually started paying per leads that were generated, which I think is kind of the way that a lot of these businesses are going to kind of like go to. So it's going to be, more lead-based. And if you kind of like layer on the PLG approach to this, what you'll find is that, it's almost get your first 5 leads for free. Use the tool. Everyone can use the tool. Access is open. Get your 5 first leads for free. And then after that, you start paying at this price. It's that kind of a model that I think we'll be ending up going to. I think that's the most disruptive model as well. And it addresses a lot of the concerns that I heard from folks.
Yeah, I agree. And for this last one, Intercom is doing that with their AI, and they're charging, I think, like $1 for a successfully closed resolution, which you're not really sure what it is on the live chat, but you could definitely be more sure what that successful resolution is on the selling side. I'm even thinking, there might be at some point a revenue share based outcome like that. That could be like quite a killer. But of course, as a SaaS, let's say, developer, an AI developer, you need to be sure that your stuff works.
So here's a crazy concept. Here's a crazy concept that I got from one of the interviews that I did post interview, was paying the AI SDR a performance-related bonus.
No. It's similar to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like not just success, but if they hit a target, okay. So if, let's say, their goal is to kind of like get 100 meetings in the month, or 50 or 20 or whatever it is, if they hit their target and then those convert afterwards, then they get a bonus on top of their base salary. So start with a low salary, essentially, and then kind of like, or have an outcome based and then a bonus. It's kind of like an interesting idea, I thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just like, it's a super fascinating space, I have to say. It's like, I've never been this excited in my life. I mean, I first joined Nokia in the mobile times. The mobiles was extremely interesting, right? All the mobile apps and I joined Nokia in 2007 when the iPhone was announced. So it was just like a crazy time, and I don't know, do you know Benedict Evans?
I'm connected with him, yes.
Yes, a fellow British guy. He was doing a lot of analysis on Nokia, how we were going to go down. And I was like, this guy's right, because I was using the iPhone, the first iPhone, or like, we got to like... And so there was just, so much innovation there. Now I feel the same thing is happening with the AI and SaaS, whereby a lot of SaaS solutions, I mean, you must have read all these different posts, like kind of like SaaS is dead, AI is taking that over, which in a way makes sense. But I also agree with you that we're not at 3 yet, where the human goes away. Like humans still have to be there. Solutions still have to prove themselves. So we're in 2.5. I could say even we're 2.1, 2.2. I'm not even sure we're halfway there yet.
No, I mean, like, as Bon Jovi said, we're not halfway there yet. But anyway, no, I think we, I think what AI is doing at the moment, this is kind of like a broad brush statement, but the successful solutions out there are the ones that are taking traditional logic-based workflow that people are comfortable with, they understand, and there are specific points in that process where you have a human that has to kind of like make a decision or something. They're looking to use AI to automate those steps, to basically make it more autonomous. That's the kind of the way I think about the way it's moving. And all of the, I think, pure agentic solutions that are out there, I think are really struggling to have traction because of the trust factor.
Right. Which is exactly my point. Like, basically, you know, I love your analysis because it sparked my interest in doing further analysis, and then putting my hat on as a product manager, because that's what I was at Nokia, and that's what I'm keeping on doing across different SaaS. That I'm also happy to show you real quick, just so that you know better what we're doing. You know, so basically, you know, the concept is that, you know, I've been spending a lot of time in the States, and when I got back in here, there was a lot of different SaaS that people here were not really using, right? So, you know, we started out from building Calendbook, which is basically, you know, an appointment scheduling tool. And from there, you know, we built ShareDocView, which is a way to share documents via links. So Calendbook is like a Calendly competitor, and ShareDocView is like a DocSend competitor, trying to come up with something new that they didn't have. So in this case, it's like custom domain, so you can have your own domain. And like I was telling you, right now, we're definitely putting a lot of focus in our solutions in AI. And so, you know, we've been using all these different live chats by different providers, and we have not been happy with them. And so with the AI live agents, what we're doing is that this is like AI first. AI starts right away. You train the AI, you customize the agents, you deploy it on your website, you know, in this live chats, and then you can take over anytime. So it's still this like human in the loop. I agree. We're still at like, you know, no, we're not at 2.5 yet, but I think we're going there. That's why like this is interesting. And so just I believe in the future we could join this race in the AI SDR, but like I feel it's still a little early. I think a bunch of these companies have been raising money just because there's a lot of like investor interest in AI, and especially AI that helps with sales. But I'd rather like kind of like build when let's say I know that also exactly what we're gonna do, and we can PLG it, and we have no issues in telling someone, look, go there, sign up, start using it for free, see the value, and then upgrade. Like I feel that that's just the best thing ever. Instead, sales-driven efforts oftentimes they do have certain issues, I guess, which they're kind of like, you know, trying to hide. That's exactly why they have this sales motion. But it could also be just because they just want to target larger customers, and obviously, and maybe they don't want to give out all their secret sauce.
So
it could be a bit of both. I don't know.
So Vincenzo, I'd love to just ask you a question, because you're so kind of like deep in the PLG space. I'd love to kind of like ask you a question. So one of my I don't know if I'd call it a hypothesis. I think it's kind of like more of a statement of kind of a trend that's definitely happening, is AI is making it easier to build applications. The second, one of the knock-on effects, one of the second degrees of impact there is that as a result, in each space, there are going to be more like products. So for example, live agents, kind of like on your website, kind of like chatbots, whatever you want to call them, there's going to be more of them. So in a PLG world, you basically are requiring a lot of the kind of like the inbound customer to kind of like come in and, you know, find your product, discover it, and then start, you know, trying it for themselves. How does a PLG company stand out in a space where, you know, kind of like going forward, there's going to be like 10x, maybe even 100x more companies in that space, like in that crowded space? How do you think that's going to evolve?
So I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot, right? Because that's what we do, and I think there's a couple of things. There's obviously there's the access to funding, which can give like an edge in terms of companies being able to invest in their sales and marketing efforts as well as product building efforts. So there's definitely one. It's been there and it will be there, but it's not necessarily the case that all. The interesting part about that is that even if you got access to funding, you might still fail, or overall as a company, or you might still fail as a founder, because if you give out 2, 3x or 5x liquidation preferences and pro rata rights and all these gotchas that a lot of first time or even second time founders still are not sure about, then you might end up working for free for your investors. So it's definitely an asset, but it's it's an opportunity, but it's also a threat that founders need to be aware of. Number one. Number two, I would say that integrations, I would say, is one of the things that definitely can make you stand up, and it's because it's also like a go-to-market opportunity. And I would say pricing as well is key. Like another SaaS that we're building, which is like quite hilarious, the story is get user votes. And I'm just gonna share with you the situation, because basically what happened is that we've been using Trello for a while, and all of a sudden Trello told us we were bringing over 400 people over there, and they're like, oh, if you want to continue, you have to pay us $2,000 per year. And we're like, yeah, it's going to be cheaper and faster for us to produce our own Trello, and so we have it. So it's that's exactly the case in which with some of these players that Trello also has the situation which they've been acquired. And so because they've been acquired, their buyer Atlassian obviously needs to make money from the acquisition, the $1 billion. And so it's typical after an M&A that just increase prices. And I think they're still going to do well, because there's still a lot of people who don't even know what Trello is. And but we pricing, and I would say also features. So after using Trello, I knew that a couple of things that they didn't have, which was really bothering me, was the ability to embed the Trello board on my website to make it look like really mine. And the ability to also get email leads. I brought over 400 people to some of these boards, and I had no email leads. And now we developed our own solution that has email leads in there. So it's like, I think it's a full-on war. It's really like World War III of SaaS, AI, and stuff. But I also don't think it's a winner take all, like a lot of Peter Thiel says, because what Peter Thiel doesn't understand is that if you reach a 5-10K MRR, you can live very happily here in Europe, or you can even live even more happily in Africa or Latin America or parts of Asia. So it's definitely not a winner take all. But yes, I've reached the same conclusions. I was thinking our SaaS portfolio was going to be of just 5 to 10 SaaS. But I think now with AI, developers are telling me, are not just telling me, they're just showing me they're developing the stuff so much faster, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I think,
well, let me give you kind of 3 things that I think are going to happen. So I think your point about the 5K per month MRR is great. So one of the things that I think is that you're going to start having a big boom of 1 to 2 person companies where, and I'll call them lifestyle businesses. Okay. So you'll start getting just a huge abundance of those. So that's where the growth is going to be, just because it's so kind of easy to
and it's still not that easy. It looks easy, but it's still not that easy. But it's possible, and it's still not as impossible as it was 20 years ago when I started working at Nokia.
No,
none of that infrastructure. Sorry for interrupting, but yes, more lifestyle companies, a few people.
Absolutely, yeah. There's going to be a huge, I think, kind of boom in that kind of space in terms of driving it. The second thing I think that's going to be kind of more, that's also going to be interesting, is that I think you're going to have a lot more companies occupying not just the vertical space, but also the functional space as well. So you'll have a lot less generic solutions like Salesforce that do everything. And you'll have a lot more companies that are a lot more specialized in specific areas. And the granularity will be a lot greater. So whereas before people talk about I don't know, let's say the finance vertical, you can break that up into retail banking, investment banking, insurance. But then I think the other piece is then kind of doubling down on a specific function. So let's say marketing in insurance, or legal in insurance, or whatever that may be. But I think getting more granular on the specific problem that you solve, and I think the world's just going to become more of a component-based world, where people need to kind of tie together all of the different components together to make up their business. So it's going to be a single founder that's going to build their solution potentially, or using AI very, very quickly, very efficiently, very iteratively, and then they're going to kind of build in and pull together these AI components that allow them to basically drive. And like I said, with the 5, or like you said, with the 5K MRR, as long as it's margin, that's good, kind of like live with. The third thing that I think is also going to be critical, and this kind of like goes to your marketing point, I think that companies are going to need to get a lot smarter about brand marketing. Yeah. It's something that you see in the consumer world, but honestly, in the B2B world, it's terrible. Like, the last kind of like good B2B brand that really people had a brand vision about was IBM. It's kind of like you never get fired for buying IBM. Yeah. That level of brand awareness and assurance that you get, I think, is something that companies are going to need to build to basically rise above the rest to make their any PLG strategy or any type of go-to-market strategy work. So those kind of like the three things.
I wanna comment on this last one if you're allowed. The other things really make a lot of sense to me. In this one, you never get fired for buying IBM. I think these days you could get fired for buying IBM because at least their branding right now looks like so old school. And so actually, one thing I would say, I remember I was in university and I was doing this research on the consumerization of enterprise IT. That was back in 2007, which meant how, for anybody that doesn't understand this very complicated term, it just means that, people see Slack outside, they start using Slack internally, and then later on, the IT director, the CIO, Chief Information Officer says, oh, hey, what are you using on our network? Slack. Oh, okay, cool. Like, it looks like a good solution, and we'll take it on at a company level, right? So it's the employees that drive as consumers the usage and of a solution up to the CIO. It's bottom up, not top down. And so because of that, for instance, as I'm thinking of the marketing of our SaaS, I'm thinking we should do more and more marketing like TikTok style, like GIFs, like memes, and I already see a lot of successful B2B SaaS companies. I think, for instance, Gong, or I remember Product Hunt, which was still doing, a lot of funny stuff, memes, and then even the ClickUp guys from San Diego. I don't know if you know them and met them, but I've been going to a lot of these different SaaS conferences. It's just getting a lot more relaxed, right? Because it's just like people don't want to read through a white paper. They just want to get the idea of what you're building with the meme as well. Or maybe they want to do both, right? So there is that too. But yeah, interesting how we started with AI SDRs and evolved to that. But as far, at least from my side, I'm very, very happy with the conversation. Definitely learned a bunch of stuff from you, and it was really good comparing notes. So I'm really happy. So unless you have any other questions or thoughts to share, I'm good. I'm very happy about this.
Yeah, let me just kind of like add one thing. So it's that LinkedIn post that I put. I think I put it on. I uploaded on Wednesday or something like that. It got a lot of traction, a lot of kind of like good feedback. One of the questions that people were asking in the feed was, have you reviewed this tool? Or have you looked at this tool?
Yeah.
All of those sort of questions. What I did was me and a friend of mine, we basically compiled that list and we created a directory online, which we called the Awkward Pig. So you've got it in my name, theawkwardpig.com. And there's a reason for that. But basically, it's memorable. But if you kind of like go to that webpage,
I'm gonna go right now.
It's got a list of all of the different tools that people told us about. And as one of the things that's interesting is that website, if you go to it, was built by two people who are non-technical. Yeah. So if you click on the Explore, if you click on the Explore SDR tools,
nice.
So it's basically it's a bit like Upvote, but the idea is overall is, so let me kind of like go back. So two of us built this, but one person primarily with me and kind of like support in 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This tool was, what's great about the AI is as you start building what initially started out as just like, let's have a list.
Yeah.
It starts evolving. And what we've done is we've ended up just kind of like coming up with a concept of gamifying, like, let's say things like product.
Nice.
So the idea is that this is kind of like a gamification approach of just having a list of products. The more you get people to vote, can be employees, users, customers, friends, whoever, the higher you are on the leaderboard. So the more you engage with us, the more you play with us, the higher it is. So one of the things I think which is really cool about AI, especially this kind of like code development, is yes, it's a great boost on productivity. But one of the side effects of having high productivity is that you spend more time iterating on the ideas and ideating. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you can actually start building, I think, quite innovative products with very low technical experience, just simply because of the productivity side of things. So anyway, like I thought I'd just kind of like give a quick plug
No, that was
to the Awkward
great.
Pig.
I had
Because I think
I had opened up the different tabs about like what you have going on your profile, but I didn't have time to check them out. So I'm really glad that you told me to open it up. And by the way, yeah, maybe while we're here, like you're also working on this prog.ai.
yeah, prog.ai is interesting. So I'm an advisor to that team. So what they've done is they've basically looked at so it's basically a database of developers.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's the primary use case is around hiring developers, but it also applies to developer marketing as well. But essentially, it's a database of about 60 million developers. And what they do is they analyze the actual code that the developers have committed inside GitHub to infer the skills that they have, and also rank the skills in terms of the quality of the code that they've got. So let's say a recruiter could target specific developers based on the skills that they need. And what they've done is they've connected that data with professional data as well. So you've got a lot of professional information, like where do they work, what job roles they had, what university they went to. So they've basically merged both of those two bits of data together. And it's just like a very functional and vertical specific solution for finding developers. And similarly, the other use case is also marketing to developers as well. So you have a lot of developer tools, and it's kind of like a prosumer kind of go-to-market model, where you can basically just target developers.
And then I guess this is like your consulting company, if I understand right.
This is my consulting company, exactly.
Perfect.
Which is really just focused on working with go-to-market teams to figure out how they can leverage AI inside their business, and that's what really kind of like sparked off the research, the deep dive research into the AI SDRs.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I'm really glad. Again, we could have done this call 101. I think a bunch of other people are going to benefit from this information. So I've not been doing this in a while, but kind of got back into it. Also, thanks to a local group that we have of people who are back in Puglia from the States, like myself, or from the UK, like a bunch of other my friends. So this in-person meetups made me want to do more online meetups with people back in the States. So that's it from my side. If that's it from your side, I think I'll get back to work. Actually, the Calendar Book guys are waiting for me to join our daily sprint.
Okay.
And
cool.
yeah, thank you so much. And looking forward to see analysis, and I'll play around with the Awkward Pig. I definitely will not forget about the Awkward Pig. Great brand.
That's the idea. Brand forward. Yeah.
All right, Alex.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Vincenzo. Great talk.